Greetings, brethren, Housebroker Donkey here, and I wanted to do the last steps of my more modern hill construction. Sadly, as you can see, there's some extra ones in the back that I couldn't quite finish because I actually ran out of PVA glue. I have just about enough to do this one and maybe something else, and then put tufts and stuff on the ones that I've already done. And it's a bank holiday today, so I'm gonna have to go buy more tomorrow and then hopefully finish them sometime on the weekend. Which, bit annoying, but what are you gonna do? Alright, so first thing we're gonna do is we have some PVA. I slightly thinned this down with water. You can see it wants to drip. But it's not too thin, it's still pretty stodgy. And now I'm just going to stipple that onto the hill, roughly. Some texture is fine, and we do also want some spots with no grass, so that the sand that we did shines through a little bit. We don't want it to be too much. It should definitely be, I would say, 90% grass at the end. But we do want some of the ground to shine through, just because it gives it a little bit more texture. Makes it look more interesting and a little bit more, well, not necessarily realistic, but it makes it feel more authentic, because I don't know, our brains just kind of associate plain green grass fields with fairy tales, which is odd because they're rare. Unless there's cattle involved or something, there rarely is a lot of ground up dirt on big meadows. Anyway, let's cover this whole thing. And at the bottom you have to be careful that there's not any big drops that are starting to form, because we don't want any lumps at the bottom. Alright. Break this up a bit more at the top, get rid of some of the really thin lines. We do want the patches to, like this one here, that's too thin. We want them to be a little bit more splotchy. And now I'm just going to remove some of them. Some of them are just too many. As I said, we don't want any of the really thin ones. They don't look good afterwards. Like this. We want them to be a little bit more patchy, like so. And yeah, I think this is good. Another check at the bottom to make sure that there's no big drops anywhere. Like that. And there. Soak that up a little bit. Spread it around. And now we're going to place it down. And then we have our flock. It's the same stuff I used last time, so it's the green dyed sawdust. And we're just gonna liberally cover the whole hill from all sides. Make sure that before you do this, your surface doesn't have any other stuff on it, because otherwise, afterwards we'll be sweeping it up again. So, we don't want the flock to be contaminated with sand or glue bits or other stuff that might be sitting on our work surface. All right, I'm gonna leave this here because it needs to work itself in for a few minutes. We don't need to wait for the... Let me actually close the door so that we don't have to hear the beeping from my dryer. There we go. Oh, glorious future when I never will have to hear any more stupid mechanical beeping noises. Alright, so that's what that is. We covered that, and now it has to soak up for a few minutes. And while we do that, we have one that I did before. The other small one that I still had. And it already looks pretty good. As you can see, with the slight patchiness and the dirt shining through, it looks a little bit more sort of authentic. You'll see it much better on the big one. The small ones, well, they are just toppers, right? So, and what we're going to do now is we're going to put on some tufts. I have a bunch of homemade ones here that I made. I'm gonna just get some of them on here. We don't want too many on these hills because we don't want to, you know, make it impossible for figures to stand on top. So we're just gonna take a few. Let me just okay. Come here. I'm gonna have to put this down for a second. This is kind of difficult with the camera in the way, so bear with me. Right, it's a bit too much glue on this. Oh well. And then we'll also try to place some on the sort of slope, so that not all of them are right on top. This one isn't working out so well in that spot. We'll try to move it around a little bit. I didn't like that one there. Let's try more glue maybe. This one doesn't quite want to stick down the way I want it to. A little annoying. I think I'll have to come back to that one afterwards and fix it when the camera isn't in the way. But for the sake of argument, we'll leave it there. And then we're gonna add some flowers as well. These are, well, actually, these are big grass tufts, and I bought these from tajima1.co.uk before Brexit, when that was still a possibility. And same thing with that. We're gonna. I don't really have to use extra PVA because, well, these come with a self-adhesive glue on the bottom, but I like to use some PVA anyway because, especially on terrain, I don't really trust the self-adhesive glue. And with this one, I'm going to try to not put it right on top. I think I'm going to go for here because we don't want the whole top to be obscured. All right. That looks pretty good. And then we're gonna get ourselves a flower tuft. These are also from Tajima. This is just the sort of leftovers that I had in my collection that I'm using for terrain now, because I am in the process of making my own. But I wanted to use these up for stuff. So we're gonna, I think this one can be somewhat on top. There we go. And I think that might already be enough. I think I'll get one more flower tuft. We'll get a cornflower blue one. I have quite a lot of those. And they need to be used for something. And then we'll probably put it there. Alright, and that's all we're gonna do. So you can see it doesn't really take very much in terms of tufts to just give it some extra character, to just make it look a bit more meadowy and alive. And it just adds that additional authenticity that it needs. Let me just fix that other tuft. There, that should work better. It's not the best tuft. But I made it, so I gotta use it. Alright. Actually, we're gonna need more glue on that last flower tuft that didn't want to stick. Alright. Okay, I think that's good. Alright, so that's what that looks like, and then let me show you the one I did earlier, the large hill. Let me come back a bit with the camera. And this is the large hill that I made. Right, so this is it. This is the completed hill. And honestly, I think this looks better than the other ones I made, the old school ones. I think the old school ones are serviceable, but this sort of green undercoat thing, I actually prefer the brown undercoat. I think the green contrasts it better and just makes it look better overall, makes it look like a better piece of terrain than the green does. Because wherever the green, you know, the undercoat color, in this case the painted sand, will always shine through a little bit with this kind of flock, and I think where the green shines through, it just looks a bit cheap. So I might actually go and turn these into these at some point, but who knows if I actually will do that. I still think they look good, but I do prefer the modernized version. And it's still old school enough, I think. I think you could definitely play some old hammer on this and it wouldn't bother anybody, because it still looks good. Alright, that's my tutorial. Really not... Oh, I did forget to mention one thing. After you put on the this stuff, the sawdust flock, you definitely have to varnish or go over it with a really thinned down watery PVA to seal it down. Because on stuff like this, especially when it's glued down to sand, it will rub off really quickly. So you definitely have to fixate that before you put on the tufts. But then afterwards, you're good. You don't have to do anything with the tufts. The tufts will be fine. Right, now let's dig out the other one that we did first, because that had some time to toughen up. As you can see, it sticks on there pretty good. I'm gonna have to tap it a bit, bring it. Right. Okay, and now most of it has come off. We'll have to wait for it to properly dry. As you can see, there's some spots right here where it's not entirely dry. I'll put some more on there. So I'll put this aside, and then probably tomorrow, once it's dry, I'll actually just rub over it with my finger and just take off all the stuff that will come off naturally. And then I'll varnish it again, and the varnishing will also get rid of some of the excess. We'll just blow it off before the varnish hits it. And then everything else that's still sort of stuck on there will be soaked in with the varnish, and it'll just harden the whole thing and make it stick. So yeah, that's the hill tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. It's really not that hard, and as you can see, you can make pretty awesome looking terrain from really cheap garbage materials such as styrofoam that came in some TV box. It takes a little bit more effort maybe, but in the end it's really not that much. I spent maybe between each of these videos there was maybe another hour of work, so it was about an hour of work a day then make the video that you saw, and that's really it. So this being video 8, so it was like 8 hours maybe to finish the whole set of hills, and I have 5 large hills and 3 small hills, and I think that's plenty for most wargaming tables. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with more stuff soon. Not sure about tutorials. Oh, I'll definitely also add I want to do a video where I put all my terrain on my new gaming table and put out my armies, and I'll add that to the bottom of this playlist just to give you a look at what all the terrain is going to look like on a table as well. Alright, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please leave a like and tell me what you thought about it, and if you have any suggestions as to how certain stuff can be done better. Alright, take care guys, and see you in another video.